Hey everybody, Ron here. It's been a while, but today I wanted to do a digital flip through of the One Ring starter set, the second one with the adventure Overhill and Underhill. What you are looking at right now is the cover of the rules document. There's the rules document, there is the adventure document, and then there's a few other files with the digital version. And in the physical version, you got standees, you got a map, which is double-sided. It has a combat zone map on it and everything like that. So it's a pretty useful box. But we're here to talk about the digital version. So we start here with the rules, and you have the table of contents with the credits, the Neptilo and Maggie. If you're familiar with Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings themed tabletop games, you'll see Neptilo and Maggie's name a lot. They do a lot of stuff, right? You have the different chapters with introduction, adventuring, player heroes, action, endurance and hope, shadow, combat, council, and journey. So this it's about a 30-page PDF here. So we're gonna flip through it right quick, and then we're gonna flip through the adventure PDF as well. This is a master ring, the one ring to rule them all. It is the year 2965 of the Third Age, and the shadow is returning. 24 years ago, an alliance of elves, men, and dwarves defeated a horde of orcs and wild wolves, inaugurating a new era of prosperity for the free peoples. But more than 20 years is a long time for a peace to last. And in many dark corners of the earth, a shadow is lengthening once again. So, the first edition of The One Ring was set a little bit earlier. It was after The Hobbit, right? Earlier than here. So this edition inches a little bit closer to the events of Lord of the Rings, but it's still between The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. So you got that. Then you have the example of play, which if you ever played a role-playing game before, this will look very familiar to you. And then you have this section on adventuring, talking about the structure of a session and playing scenes, all that kind of stuff. Once again, this is stuff that you folks know. The player heroes, which is what they call the PCs in this game, have a culture and a calling, a race and a class. And there's three attributes: strength, heart, and wits. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but the way that the One Ring, both the first edition and the second edition work, is that you have like a base number of 21, and then you subtract your strength, your heart, or your wits, and you come up with a test number, and then you'll be rolling. Okay, they have 20 minus, I'm sorry, 20 minus the corresponding attribute to get the target number. So you'll be rolling a special D12 called the feat die, and then a number of D6s. Each character has distinctive features and skills. Skills work as you might expect them to. They add dice to your roll. The combat works similarly to skills, but combat abilities are different than skills. There's a concept of favor and ill favor. Favor is advantage, and ill favor is disadvantage. And then it talks about endurance, hope, and parry. Endurance is your hit points, basically. Hope is your meta currency that you spend to add extra dice to your roll. And parry is just a skill. It's at the target number that the enemies need to hit you. It talks about weapons and gear. It talks about valor and wisdom. Valor is a measure of hero's courage. Wisdom represents their trust in their own capabilities. Those will come in when you try to resist the shadow. And each player has a fellowship focus, basically a buddy that'll inspire them. You know, Legolas and Gimli, Merry and Pippin, Sam and Frodo, right? And each company, which is what the party is called, has a patron. So I guess I'm doing a flip through and kind of explaining the rules as I go. Anyway, so I just talked about action resolution, and this is where that is. And it talks about that in detail. And so on the feat die, what I didn't mention is that there's the numbers 1 through 10 and a Gandalf rune and an Eye of Sauron. So it's a 12-sided die, but it's basically 1 through 10 and two special icons. The Gandalf rune is an automatic success, and then the Eye of Sauron is a 0. It is not necessarily a failure, but it's a 0. Unless you are, once again, getting ahead of myself, there's a condition where the Eye of Sauron on defeat die actually is a failure. And then you can earn bonus dice in various ways and penalty dice based on circumstances. And then yeah, 2 conditions: miserable and weary. Weary is when you're pretty loaded up, on the regular D6s, the 1s, 2s, and 3s count as 0, and miserable is when the Eye of Sauron icon actually counts as a failure for the feat die. It talks about endurance and hope. And then we got the rules on the shadow here. Then we have combat rules. This combat sequences, you have opening volleys, and then you choose your stances. So combat is a little more fluid. You're not counting squares per se. You really are concerned with what your little stance is in combat. Are you going to be aggressive, take a base form, or defensive, or are you going to be ranged? Which is what these stances are: forward, open, defensive, and then rearward, which is ranged. And then there's some rules on engagement and everything like that. I don't want to explain everything. This is supposed to be a flip through. Guys, talk about special damage and first aid, and then describe how adversaries work, and then there's an example of combat. And then we have the council rules here, where you set a resistance, and basically it's an extended skill test. You'll be rolling multiple skills and counting up your number of successes, and you have to get a number of successes before you run out of chances, or you will fail. And then there'll be journey rules, and so you set roles in your company, and the guide will set the journey path, and then there's encounters that you'll go through, and that can make your life better or worse. And we have consolidated charts here, and that is it for the rules document. And now I'm going to talk about the adventure, so there's going to be some spoilers here. So if you are planning on playing this adventure, this is the time to punt. Once again, we got the credits for this. Adventure is in 3 parts: the fateful meeting, Crowned Hill, and Ironjawz, and an epilogue. So it starts with an overview of the adventure and then goes right into part 1, a fateful meeting, where they're sponsored by Gilraine, the mother of Aragorn, which is pretty cool. There's a letter that she gives a contact and everything like that, and then they go on this journey. And then here's part 2, which is Crowned Hill. So I'm running this adventure for a group right now. We finished part 1, and then the next time we get together, we're gonna finish the adventure. You got some stuff going on. Describe some encounters. Got some maps here, and then part 3, the conclusion of the adventure, dealing with Ironjawz, which I believe is just a giant she-wolf that the company will fight. I skimmed through the whole thing. I know the part 1 a little bit better than the rest of this because I haven't taken the time to read these in detail. Got the Goblin Lair here, and then you have the epilogue, consolidated stat blocks, and that is it for the adventure. So I hope that gives you folks a overview of the adventure and the rules of the starter box, so you can make an informed decision on whether to pick this up. By the way, I am a DriveThruRPG affiliate, so if you pick this up, please click on the link in the description to go and buy this PDF or shop for something else at DriveThruRPG and help a brother out. Thanks for watching, and until next time, see you later.